This is organized within the framework of the SHORE project and in collaboration with our sister projects ProBleu and BlueLightS. My name is Burcu Kiper and I'm working as an Impact Acceleration Manager at CrowdHedix, which is an open innovation platform and network for collaborative research. And CrowdHedix is responsible for clustering and networking activities within the SHORE project. Our 3 projects are funded by the European Commission under the Mission Ocean program, part of Horizon Europe. To this end, SHORE project strives to increase ocean literacy by engaging students and teachers to implement Mission Ocean's objectives through activities and collaborative projects in schools, enabling them to become agents of change. BlueLightS project, one of our sister projects, is strengthening the knowledge and skills of European children and youth to deliver blue resilience and sustainability. And our other sister project, ProBleu, aims to boost ocean and water literacy beyond the classroom by supporting the network of European Blue schools. Today in our webinar, we will be sharing experiences from implementing open calls under Mission Ocean, focusing on cascade funding as an effective mechanism for reaching schools and other local actors effectively and at scale. So we will be drawing on lessons learned from SHORE, ProBleu, and BlueLightS consortia, and our event will discuss the necessary steps to design and deliver open calls. Before we start, I would like to let everyone know that we will have dedicated time for questions and answers at the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions to our speakers, please feel free to write them in the chat and we will address them to our speakers at the end. To kick off today's and George to deliver the first talk of the webinar. Oriane is a project manager for EU research and innovation projects at F6S. She is a marine scientist and bioindustries engineer dedicated to environmental preservation. She has been working in research and innovation projects related to marine, environmental, and ecosystems restoration as a project manager, communication manager, and work package leader, as well as open call manager within the blue economy sectors. And she will be giving us an overview of the cascade funding mechanism under Mission Ocean. Welcome, Oriane. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Burcu, and thank you for presenting me. Okay, so let's start. I believe let's start with the first presentation. So as Burcu said, my name is Oriane and I work for F6S Innovation. I have managed several EU project and open call within the Mission Ocean and Water project. So today I would like to give you a little overview of the cascade funding mechanism. So first of all, just to start, I will give you a very brief introduction of F6S. So we are a platform that really helps founder and startup to grow together. And so you can use it as well. You can have your own space there for free. And then if you have the right keywords, we can also help you to get you information about EU-funded grant. I will give you a little bit more overview later on this. Today we have a partner in over 100 projects, and we do stakeholder engagement, communication and dissemination, coordination. But the most important, and I want to focus today, is we have a lot of project where we are doing the open call management, so we can give you an overview of a lot of open call happening in the EU framework. So those are some of, for example, projects that we're working on. We have different subjects, and the most important in this webinar is the Blue Economy one. So I will focus more on this one. I am the synergy agent in F6S within the Blue Economy, so I help us to really connect together and build synergy within all the projects. We have projects within the freshwater, maritime security, blue technology, maritime surveillance, ocean pollution, etc. I will come back to some of them at a later stage. First, I want to give you a little structure of open call and what is important for you when you apply to an open call. So the structure of an open call, if you are not familiar with it, at the beginning you start with the launch and the promotion. So you have your project, the Mission Ocean and Water project, that is going to launch an open call and bring an official announcement. Once you have the official announcement, the call is open for you to apply. It's usually a minimum of 2 months for you to apply, which can be a bit short. So it's better to get familiar with it from the beginning. So the guidelines are released directly on the website. And during those 2 months, there is usually also info webinars, so at least two, where you can join and get the information on the open call. Who is it for? The eligibility criteria, which country are for, and what do we expect? And they also give you space, usually for question and answer. Um, for you to come and understand better the scope of the open call and if you are going in the right direction with your application. Then you have 2 months, as I said, for it depends on some of open call. I will present some that are at least 6 months as well, but a minimum of 2 months for you to apply. And there is usually a help desk support, so an email address that you can ask question if you have, and a really hard deadline that you should not miss. Usually it closes very harshly on the timing, and there is no way after to really submit a late application. If you miss the deadline, unfortunately, you will not be funded. After that, then we move to the evaluation and selection. So the project receive all your application. Then there is an admissibility check, checking if you are from the right country, if you have the VAT number, if it's required, etc. If you are an SME or a local and regional authority, for example, in most of the Mission Ocean and Water project, there is an external expert review and a consensus and ranking on the application to decide who is going to be funded. Then it moves to the results and the contracting. So you receive a notification on your result. There is a legal check and then the signature of the grant agreement if you have been selected. After that, you are selected, you move to the onboarding, kickoff meeting, you receive the financing, and you have the active period when you have to implement your project. During this, the project will be monitoring your deliverables, milestone, and the final reporting, as well as an impact assessment, probably. Essential document for you to really, when you want to apply, most of the open call will have this, always a guide of applicant. This is your Bible from the beginning. Once the open call open, read it, open it, and read it very thoroughly. There is all the eligibility criteria, everything that we expect from you. So it's really your core reference, and to understand the evaluation criteria as well and the funding rules. Then there is usually an online application form that is administrative and profile details. So like your VAT number, your country, etc., that will serve as the eligibility check. And there is a template for your proposal writing, which is the one you need to submit when you apply for an open call. And really, this is where you write your project, and this is what would be given to the external expert. And an example as template for now are the subgrant agreement, that if you move to the funding phase, then this will be the document you will be signing with the institution that holds the funds. And now I also want to show you how, I hope I gave you an overview of how it works on the open call. It's very short. But how do you find open call opportunity? And I would like to show you as well some open call opportunity that are open at the moment. So this is some of our projects. Some are already given open call. For example, Restore for Life had one on Mission Ocean and Water with associated region as well. IC for Seaweed has been funding 30 startups in the seaweed innovation. ADT for Blue is also supporting startup mentoring, not within funding, but mentoring startups, sure will be definitely presented at a later stage of this webinar. And Remedies and Our Mermaid were also two open calls that had funding for associated region, for local and regional authority to support on ocean pollution. How can you find some of the open call opportunity? I will just I think it's really important to follow all the project social media account. As long as there is an open call, everything is going to have at least a campaign on LinkedIn on all the project now. So it's really important to really follow them and go on the website and sign up for the newsletter. Usually, when the open call is released, when it opens, they sign a newsletter directly to inform you. So I invite you to really do that. And if you go, I will show you very quickly on our website also. We have, if you go on Have Success Innovation, we have a page specific to open call. You can find some news about those that are already open at the moment. And if you click on Apply Now, we have all of these are the ones that are open at the moment. So you can really find how much money very quickly and which different movement. This is not only blue economy, but you can use keywords as well for the blue economy to find what you want. And now, just to close, before I close my presentation, I would like to present you two EU Mission Ocean projects that currently are open for open call. So there is I work on both of them. So there is Task Restore Med, which is focusing mostly on the Mediterranean basin. And we currently have two open call open. One for transition agenda, and there is at the moment 1 million euro that will be distributed, and then one on community-led actions, and there will be 7 million euro that will be distributed. As well as the transition agenda one, we'll have a second call later in the project that will redistribute another million as well for the transition agenda one. This is to apply by May 27th, so it's coming to an end soon. And just to give you a little bit of an overview of those post track, but then you will have to go on the website and find the guidelines of applicant, etc., to get all the information on it. So the community-led action aim to really scale and deploy, so to really implement innovative solution. So it is focused on the Mediterranean basin, but it doesn't mean that if you're a country outside the Mediterranean, you cannot apply. As long you can apply if you can build a consortium with, as long as the implementation of the solution is on one of the Mediterranean basin. And the solution is a minimum TRL4, sorry, and it can go to consortia up to 2 to 3 partners. This is to re-verify everything on the guideline of applicant, of course, and we can allocate from 200,000 to 1.3 million, not 2. I think this has been changed now. And then the policy roadmaps, which we will bring, as I said, 1 million for this call, and there will be a second one later that will bring another million. And the grants are up to 100K per project. So with the key focus area are the Mission Ocean goals, and but developing strategic local and regional roadmap. And this one is more addressing the policy and the regulatory gaps. So as I said, this is closing soon on the 27th of May. So go on the website. The project calls Task Restore Med. Follow on LinkedIn, and you can find all the links to find the guidelines of applicant and the relative information to apply. And another one, which I'm also working on, which is Sundance, which is a project more on freshwater, but and more on the Danube Lighthouse. So it's part of the Danube Lighthouse. And we have a research vessel, the biggest one actually on freshwater on river in Europe. And we are working on sustainable sediment solution for the Danube and the Black Sea system. and we would like to replicate our solutions. So our partner are working on solution on different topics that are flow monitoring, sediment quantity monitoring, sediment quality assessment, awareness raising action, and this will be open in July 2026. This we already had an open call 1 in this one, and we are about to open call 2. The open call 1 was specific for Danube country that were not part of our consortium, but the open call 2 will be open to all Europe. So it's not only specific to the Danube country. And there will be up to 100,000 euro in funding for the river ecosystem services. This will be only specific to associated region. And I don't have slide for this because I don't work with this one, but I know there is 3 other projects like the Task Restore Med that are also doing at the moment funding, like community-led action and policy roadmap, but are focusing on different basins, not the Mediterranean one, but the other ones as well, that are currently open for application as well. And I invite you, I can put the name in the chat if needed as well for you to have a look. So thank you very much for your attention, and feel free to get in touch, ask any question in the chat, and I will try to answer you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Oriane, for this great presentation and providing us with more information about the overview of open calls. So up Pedro Costa, Senior Consultant and Head of Education Unit at Innova Plus. He has been leading innovative international projects in education and training since 2012. And he's been focusing on business growth, resource management, and identifying opportunities for international funding programs. And Pedro is also a external assessor for European Commission in vocational education and training. And today he will talk about call design and eligibility criteria for schools. Thank you so much, Pedro. The floor is yours.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the presentation and for giving the floor. So I will do this presentation based on the ProBleu experience and by illustrating how we design our call addressing European schools and some of the changes that we have made throughout the process within our project. So the ProBleu project it's really focused on water and ocean literacy through the promotion of school-based projects and open science projects. In terms of the calls that we design, we have the initial plan to promote 4 calls at different moments of the project implementation, with some KPIs that were included for the project as a whole and per each of the call. You can find some information about our calls because all of them were launched and finalized in our website of the project. So looking an initial information is the alignment of the project. So the focus of the project is to address the European Mission Restore Ocean and Waters, and also the promotion of the NEXT, the Network of European Blue Schools, as all our work with the schools was aimed to support them to develop projects that could guarantee that they will be awarded with the European Blue School label. In this framework, we had 4 calls that were. Sorry, I thought that was sharing since the beginning, but this is the actual the first slide. So our initial plan was to have these 4 calls, and they were all implemented. I think that the last one didn't happen exactly on those dates. There was some delay, but all the others were implemented. So some ambitions that we have in our project. So we wanted to promote and support a minimum of 100 schools all over Europe. We aim to reach out to the 45 eligible countries in terms of communication actions, so communicating the cause, but we also aim to receive applications from schools from the 45 eligible countries. We aim to support the highest number of schools from the highest number of countries as possible. We wanted to consider the large diversity of types of school and their capacities. And so we designed a simple application process where just two documents were required, the application form and the declaration of honor. All our calls were designed based on the principle of open access legacy, which means that for us it was very important that the schools produced at the end reusable learning outcomes in native language and English language in editable formats and shareable. So all other stakeholders could take advantage and learn from the experiences of the projects that were funded through ProBleu. And we used our first call as a kind of test bed to test our call design, let's say, to learn from experience and to improve on the upcoming calls. So how did we design the calls at the beginning? We considering the topics of the project, we proposed two lots. So the applicant schools should apply to one of the lots, or ocean, marine, or to fresh waters. We also had a list of topics that the schools could align their project with. There was a minimum of one topic to select, so their projects need to be aligned to one of our core topics. And then we have some rules, for example, that the funds, 30% minimum of the funds should be used in each lot, and also for primary schools and secondary schools. So to also reach some diversity in terms of the funded projects. In terms of eligibility criteria, we have four core eligible criteria. So the first one was, of course, the institution type, organization type. The focus was on primary, secondary schools up to secondary level, but including vocational schools as well. And our call was designed for single applicants only. So we were not seeking for consortia or any kind of those types of arrangements. In terms of geographical location, the focus were all the eligible countries for the Horizon program, so 45 countries in total. The applicant schools, they should be affiliated with the NEPs or aiming to renew their affiliation or to initiate the accreditation process during the implementation of the project. So we wanted to make sure that all the schools would apply at the end to get their affiliation within the NEPs. And they need to ensure that they were not subject to any European restrictive measures, so they need to send us a declaration of honor that we prepared for them. So these were our core eligibility criteria. Just a brief overview of our open access legacy, because our emphasis was a little more on the results of the project. So we propose to the schools that they should, their project should at the end deliver educational materials, educational units, educational exercises in any format. It could be a lesson, a video, that document, some contents, etc. But that could be reused. We propose that they could develop the materials into their native language, but also they could translate it into English. And because of that, we accepted translation services as eligible costs, for example, for during our calls. The materials should be developed in open and editable formats, so others could use them. And we want to upload the materials to our platform, to the ProBleu platform, where we have now centralized all the results of the teaching materials that were produced within the project, open for any user, for any stakeholder around Europe. In terms of awarding criteria, this is not an exhaustive list of our awarding criteria, just to give an overview of our focus. So we had a focus more on the quality of the project and the outcomes, a focus on the engagement, so students and other actors in schools that would be involved from the schools, from the wider community, including external stakeholders, and the alignment of the project and the contribution of the project to the mission Waters and Oceans, and the integration within the NEPs, and demonstrate some results in terms of ocean and water literacy. Although we had designed the first call based on these principles, the second call we didn't introduce any changes. The first call was small, was for us also to test our procedures, our documents, etc. And then the second call was a little bit larger, but we used exactly the same approach. But at the end of the second call, we have some reflection and we changed some of the some issues on the code design to give us a little bit more flexibility, but they result from lessons learned from the field. So the first thing that we have changed is that we have realized that in several European countries and other eligible countries, the schools didn't have legal autonomy to sign contracts or to hold bank accounts so they could receive the funds. And so we were facing a situation where we were not able to fill in our KPIs, and so not able to addressing as many as eligible countries as possible. And we were receiving applications from a group of countries only. So in the call 3 and 4, we have stated that we could accept applications from schools under the name of the authority that was governing the schools, which was in most of the cases municipalities, but in some countries it was NGOs legally holding the schools. And very exceptional, we accepted situations where the schools had a memorandum of understanding with an external organization, in principle an NGO, that could receive the funds in the name of the schools and implement the projects with the schools. This is because we faced a lot of difference in terms of the legal systems around Europe and also outside Europe, because in countries, for example, as Tunisia or Morocco, that were eligible, the rules were completely different. This increased the number of applications that we have received and also allow us to reach out to a higher number of countries and to found more projects in more countries. So this was one of the adjustments that we did based in our experience. Then a second change that we did was in the amount or the grant to give to the schools. In our call design at the beginning, we defined that there were three types of projects or three types of lump sums that we could give to the schools. There were three categories, let's say. So schools could apply to receive 10,000 euros, 5,000 euros, or 2,500 euros, and they should select these lump sum amounts considering the type of activities that they wanted to implement, the resources that they would need it, and the costs associated to those resources to do the activities with the students, the project duration, the number of students to involve from the school or from other schools, etc. So we left that to the schools to select according to their project design. But at the end of the call two, our evaluators panel concluded that most of the schools applying to the highest lump sum, 10,000 euros, were not convincingly arguing value for money for their projects. And in most of the cases, that link was not there. And so we decided to change the higher lump sum unit to 7,500 euros. And at the same time, we put a little bit more focus, as I will show on the next slide, on projects of small size, so to reach out to more schools than we were aiming to reach at the beginning. And this leads us also to a third big change that we did in our calls. It's that at the end of the call two, and also to try to reach to as many countries as possible, we abandoned the options of having two lots, fresh waters and oceans, and we put a country focus in our call three and in our call four. What you see here in this slide, it's an example on how we have designed the call four. So we have three groups in our final call, where we have included in group A a group of our list of countries that didn't apply in the past calls, for example. So we haven't received any application from schools from those countries of group A, or haven't yet approved any project with origin with any of those countries. In Group B, we have a second list of countries that represented the group of countries from where we have already founded a few projects. And Group C was, as we call it, the most popular group. This is we had already in the past founded a lot of projects in the countries on Group C. And as you can see, we have restricted also the number of projects that we could award in each of the groups, clearly prioritizing the group A, so the group where we haven't found yet any projects in the past. So this was one of the most relevant changes that we did in our call design, adapting also to the reality and to ensure that at the end we will reach our targets. And the outcome was, as you can see in this table, we have in the second column the number of applications received in each call and the countries where those applications came from. And in each of the calls, in green, it's applications from countries that are new or for the first time that were receiving applications from those countries. So over time, we were able to address more and more projects, so to receive more and more applications for more projects. And in total, we have received almost 700 applications in the four calls from 44 eligible countries. So unfortunately, we didn't receive any of the calls any applications from Montenegro, despite our efforts to reach out, of course, schools directors, teachers, networks of schools, etc. in Montenegro. You didn't receive any application. And in the column of the right side, we have the number of projects that were approved in each call, with also the countries of origin of those approved projects, and also highlighted in green the new projects that were reached, in this case with approved projects in each call. So at the end, we were able to found 111 projects. Our target was to found 100 schools, and those 111 projects are from 41 different countries. And so for us, this was a fantastic outcome. But all these changes on the design of the call, they were aligned with our initial call structure, let's say. So we did not contradict any of our most relevant provisions, but only tried to direct or redirect the funds to countries or regions that were not so or not applying, let's say, as we were expecting. This is our result at the end. The project is ending now in May. Our fourth call project ended last April, so we are receiving now final reports from the schools that implemented their projects in under call 4, and we are preparing now for the final report of the project and to document all to the European Commission. Feel free to ask any question, of course, if you have, and feel free to reach me if you want to know more details about the way how ProBleu designed the calls and the way that we have managed the changes that we have implemented. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pedro, for informing us about the ProBleu project's call design process and eligibility criteria for schools. Up next, we have the other sister project with Shore, which is called BlueLightS, and we have Olga Aneknostaki from ETEC. She is a chemical engineer, project manager, and business consultant with years of experience managing Erasmus Plus and other EU-funded projects. She's specializing in coordination, curriculum development, e-learning, and quality assurance. She is experienced also in ISO management systems and combines technical expertise, project management, and business administration across both industrial and educational sectors. So welcome, Olga, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Burku. Okay. So today I would like to share a very practical perspective from the project BlueLightS. Not only the funding, what the funding mechanism looks like, but what exactly actually happened when schools across Europe started applying, implementing projects and interacting with the call process. So BlueLightS implements a cascade funding mechanism that provides direct financial support to schools for projects related to ocean and water literacy. The objective is not simply to fund activities, but to help schools actively contribute to the mission Restore Our Ocean and Waters by 2030, while also strengthening the network of European Blue schools. The projects are designed to be practical, student-centered, community-oriented, and feasible for schools to implement within a relatively short time frame. Schools can develop projects around topics such as pollution and plastics, climate change literacy, sustainable blue economy, marine and freshwater ecosystems, citizen engagement, and many other mission ocean priorities. What is particularly interesting is how rapidly the initiative evolved. During the first call, we received 55 applications from 15 different countries, and finally, we funded 17 school projects with a total budget of approximately 49,000 euros. What was especially encouraging was that schools participated not only from coastal regions but also from inland areas, approaching water sustainability through rivers, freshwater ecosystems, biodiversity, pollution, or other local community activities. The mechanism scaled significantly during the second call. We received more than 250 applications from schools across 21 countries from Europe and Horizon Europe associated countries, with around 235 eligible proposals. 42 schools received a total amount of around 124,000 euros. We also observed increasing participation from schools that had never previously engaged with EU Blue education initiatives or the network of European Blue schools. We think this increase tells us something important, that schools are genuinely interested in ocean and water literacy topics, but they are also actively searching for funding mechanisms that are accessible for education institutions. At the same time, this rapid growth also created some operational challenges for us: more applications, more diversity in project quality, more pressure on the evaluators, and greater need for consistency and transparency in the process. So after the second call, we realized that the mechanism itself had to be improved. After reviewing hundreds of applications, several patterns became visible. First, many schools had excellent ideas, but these ideas were not always put into the structure of the application form. For example, schools often described the many interesting activities, but the connection between them was not always obvious. Sometimes projects look like more like a collection of activities rather than a coherent educational pathway. Another challenge was budgeting. We noticed very large differences between projects of similar scale. Some schools requested very high budgets for relatively simple activities, while others proposed very ambitious projects with extremely limited financial requests. This showed us that applicants often needed more guidance on what constitutes a realistic and proportional budget. We also observed that eligibility criteria were sometimes interpreted differently. For example, we had many questions about the age groups, school eligibility, partnership structures, or the connection with NEPs were not always fully understood. And finally, the evaluation process itself became demanding because of the volume of submissions. And maintaining fairness and consistency across the applications requires a very structured process. So overall, the experience of the first two calls was extremely valuable because it revealed not only the strengths of the mechanism, but also the points where applicants and evaluators needed more support. This brings me to the improvements introduced in the third call. One major improvement was simplification. The application form was revised with clearer wording, more direct questions, and additional explanatory notes. This may sound like a small change, but actually it has a very significant impact because complexity is a barrier to participation, and for schools especially. A second important improvement was the direct alignment between the application form and the evaluation criteria. If evaluators assess something, now the applicants clearly know where and how to address it. This creates greater transparency and also reduces misunderstandings during evaluation. We also clarified the eligibility conditions more explicitly. For example, which educational levels are eligible, how partnerships can work, what kinds of activities are expected, and what connection projects should demonstrate with ocean and water literacy objectives. Another important point was the financial framework. We tried to make budget expectations much more transparent by clearly communicating funding ceilings and explaining that requested amounts may be adjusted if necessary. And finally, we reduced the implementation period to approximately 2 to 3 months. From experience, shorter and more focused projects tend to be more feasible for schools, easier to manage administratively, and more realistic within the academic calendar. The schools can receive lump sum grants up to €3,000. The goal is not to create heavy or highly bureaucratic projects, but realistic, flexible initiatives that teachers can actually implement within a few months. What we are really trying to support is meaningful student engagement and local impact. For the third call, the available budget is around €151,000, and we expect to fund approximately 45 to 50 projects. Each project can receive up to €3,000. This is the maximum, not a fixed amount. And the final grant depends on the evaluation score and how well the budget is justified. We also work with country-level budget allocations, but these are not strict limits. We have a flexibility to redistribute funds to the highest quality proposals. So before sending the application to the evaluators, we do a very quick eligibility check. From our experience in the previous calls, a significant number of applications were actually ineligible, not because the idea was weak, but because some basic conditions were not met. So in this call, we try to make this as clear as possible and simple. We also observed that eligibility criteria sometimes were confused. For example, questions about age groups, school eligibility, partnership structures, or the connection with NEPs. First, the applicant must be a formal primary, secondary, or vet school, so not universities and not early childhood education institutions. Second, the students involved must be up to ESED level 3, and the school must be located in a EU member state or a country associated with Horizon Europe. And finally, schools are committed to join the European network of Blue Schools before they submit their final report. If all these conditions are met, then the school can proceed with the application. So this is really a quick filter that helps both applicants and us to avoid unnecessary work later in the process. In practice, what really makes a difference is how clearly the project is structured. They have one central idea and all activities are connected to that idea. For example, a project might include classroom preparation, then fieldwork, then some form of analysis, and finally communication of results. When activities are clearly linked, evaluators can easily follow the logic and assess the proposal positively. When activities are disconnected, even good ideas lose strength. What we observed very clearly from the previous calls is that the strongest projects tend to combine three elements. First, they are integrated into the standard curriculum. This means the project is not something extra or disconnected, but it builds on what teachers are already doing in class. The funding mainly supports additional resources, for example, equipment, field visits, or materials. Second, they include a strong practical component, what we often call citizen science. So students are not just learning theoretically, but they are observing, collecting data, experimenting, or engaging with real-world issues. And third, they involve some form of community engagement. This could be collaboration with local experts, NGOs, or simply sharing results with the wider school community or parents. When these three elements are combined, the project becomes much stronger, both educationally and in terms of evaluation. And importantly, this approach also keeps the workload manageable for teachers because the project is integrated into existing activities rather than adding completely new tasks. Each proposal is evaluated independently by two evaluators using a common framework. In cases where there is a significant difference in scoring, a third evaluation is introduced to ensure consistency and fairness. The evaluation is based on three criteria: relevance, quality, and impact. Relevance looks at how well the project aligns with the mission objectives. Quality focuses on how well the activities are designed and whether the project is feasible. Impact looks at student involvement, community engagement, and the potential for broader results. What is important is balance. A proposal needs to perform well across all three dimensions. In addition to the core project design, there are some elements that consistently strengthen proposals during evaluation. First, the integration of what we call 21st century skills. This is not about listing them, but also showing how students actively develop skills like critical thinking, collaboration, or problem solving through the project activities. Second, the reflection of EU values and inclusion. Proposals that clearly show how they promote active citizenship, diversity, and participation tend to be stronger, especially when they include students from different backgrounds or fewer opportunities. Third, collaboration between schools. Twinning or e-twinning activities bring a clear European dimension and they show that the project goes beyond a single classroom context. And finally, sustainability aspects, meaning how the project itself is implemented in an environmentally responsible way and how it connects to broader ideas like circularity or carbon awareness. What is important here is that these elements should be naturally integrated into the project and not just mentioned without real connection to the activities. And let me briefly walk you through the timeline of the third call. The call is already open since April and the submission deadline is the 18th of September. After that, we move into the evaluation phase, which takes place over the following weeks, and results are expected to be announced in early December. The contracting phase follows immediately after, during December and January, and the projects are implemented between February and April. One important change compared to previous calls is the duration of the project, which is now limited to 2 to 3 months. This was a deliberate decision based on our experience in earlier calls, because longer timelines often led to delays in contracting and final reporting. So to conclude, the third BlueLightS call is now open. Schools can apply for projects related to ocean and water literacy with funding up to €3,000. And what we are looking for are clear, coherent, and realistic projects with strong student involvement. The deadline is September 18th, and all details are available on the project website. Of course, we are available through the help desk for any questions. Thank you very much, and we are really looking forward to receiving your proposals.
Thank you very much, Olga, for your presentation and providing us with the open call details of BlueLightS project. And today's last presentations, final speakers will come from the Shore project, and we will be joined by Joanna Mokajka and Milana Sekulic from F6S. They are our partners in the Shore project, and they will reflect on lessons learned from open calls and results within the Shore project. Our colleague Joanna will be presenting, and Milana will be answering any questions the audience might have on the chat. So Joanna is a project manager at FX6, and she leads international projects focused on blue economy, climate change, and AI. She has experience in funding mechanism for diverse stakeholders, legal aspects of funding and contracting, as well as exploitation activities. Milana is a communication and project manager at F6S with experience in Horizon Europe projects, focusing on strategic dissemination, stakeholder engagement, and end-to-end management of financial support to third parties. So welcome, Joanna and Milana, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And I will start sharing my screen so we can go through the presentation. So, yeah, you already have heard a lot about the open calls today, but also about the introduction to cascade funding. So let me wrap up maybe a little bit with the Shore project, which has been the sister project of all of the three projects you just heard right now. So I would like to share with you some lessons learned from our open calls, but also some results and the lessons learned from already implemented projects as well. The Shore project is a sister project for ProBleu and also BlueLightS, and our objectives were, I believe, they were similar. But when it comes to the Shore, mainly we wanted to empower the students, the primary and the secondary school students, to become the agents of change. And also, we wanted to expand the network of the European Blue Schools, promote the Mission Ocean objectives, but also to promote the open schooling, to implement the blue curricula also, but also to train the educators, the teachers on the blue education. So those objectives were also our, let's say, light when we were introducing the open calls. Through the Shore project, we have introduced 3 open calls, and all of them were dedicated to the schools. The schools were the main beneficiaries, but also what was the goal? The goal was to fund the schools, which are the primary or the secondary schools across the Europe, but also beyond. So those schools which are legally registered and established in the European Union. But also in Shore, we have introduced the 5 target regions of the Shore open calls, which were the Baltic Sea, Black Sea, Mediterranean Sea, Rhine, and Danube River area. We wanted to a little bit narrow down the location so we could clearly also connect the schools with our country hubs, which were also a major and very important part of SHORE projects. SHORE has funded 95 schools, the Blue projects from the schools which were actually based in all of the Europe, but also beyond. We had schools from Austria, Croatia, Estonia, France, Hungary, Greece, Italy, Jordan, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, Sweden, Spain, and the majority schools also came from our from the Turkey, which also was a partner of the SHORE. The purpose of the grant was to foster the innovation which are led by the students, but also give the schools and the students, I would say, the tool to help them learn and understand the ocean literacy and actually actively engage them, the students, into the activities. The project funded under the SHORE Open Calls were related to the five main topics, which were about the sea-based activities, hazardous substances, biodiversity, climate change, and the use of water resources. I would say the major or maybe the difference, which or maybe how to call it, what we introduced in the SHORE Open Call, we had also the country hubs. This was the, let's say, the very important part not only of the SHORE project but also for our open calls. We had 7 country hubs which were connected directly with the regions. And those country hubs were established in Austria, Estonia, Hungary, Italy, Poland, Romania, and Turkey. And actually, they were, let's say, the support. They were providing the support to the Blue schools. They were providing also the guidance and the trainings to school while they were implementing their Blue projects. And actually, yes, we have implemented 3 open calls through the past 3 years when the SHORE lasted, and through our open calls, we have processed with more than 600 applications, which we received across 3 open calls. And I would say the calls were really, let's say, providing a nice support for the schools, but we also have noticed that there was a very nice interest from the schools across the Europe to apply to the SHORE open calls. And actually what was important and what was the, let's say, the lessons learned or our recipe which helped us to manage this amount of the application, it was first of all, the rhythm which we applied, because we had 3 open calls. And actually when we implemented the SHORE as a project, we had 3 years to implement, but also we try to have 1 year, 1 open call, which helped us to, let's say, which helped us to prevent the administrative overlap when we are implementing the 1 open call and then going to another one. So we wanted to avoid, let's say, the peak when the projects from the open call 1 are not finished and the second batch from the following call is approaching. Also, our recipe was to prep the schools to implement the project. So I believe that sometimes this opportunity, not only probably in SHORE, but also in ProBleu and BlueLightS, the opportunity to get the funding was the first opportunity for majority of the schools to implement the project. So it might be sometimes challenging to implement the project, which has a time frame, but also, let's say, a budget. In SHORE, we were, let's say, funding the school with the 10,000 euro budget up to 10,000 K. So I believe it also, it's also may cause, let's say, there's some challenges for the schools to well implement the foreseen activities. So first of all, we wanted to prepare the schools for the implementation. Each call, once we have selected the schools, we had the structured kickoff meeting to present the whole program, to present the mentors, but also to give the place for schools where they can present themselves and also present the project and the idea which they're going to implement. We had also applied a dedicated mentorship, which was, I believe, a nice advantage for schools. So each school had a mentor which was the individual person from our country hub, which were in constant contact with the schools to help them to go through, let's say, the application of the project. So they were in contact. They could also take the advantage of the mentorship and the coaching while the schools were implementing the project. Also, we had a special dedicated platform, the digital platform, which was also a part of the SHORE project, where all schools could share their results, and also kind of the place where they could easily report the activities and actually have the one space where they can also see the other schools' results, but also share what they did through the implementation of their projects. Also, our recipe was also, at the beginning we knew that we had, let's say, a high KPI which we wanted to reach out, but at the same time we knew what we are doing. So we wanted to attract the right schools which are going to apply for the SHORE grants. So our, let's say, approach in SHORE was that we definitely wanted to contribute to find the schools, the right ones. So the consortium was really engaged in, let's say, enabling and also supporting us in spreading the news about the open call. But also they did effort, for example, for local networking or the top-down methods, which came, for example, from the Turkey as our partner, the Yildiz Technical University. They, for example, connected with the ministry to do this top-down approach to attract all the schools from the region, from the whole country, to first of all inform them that we have such an initiative as a SHORE, which provides the funding for the schools, but also somehow attract them to the open call. Whereas, for example, in Croatia, we didn't have any partner from Croatia in the SHORE consortium. But for example, as far as Croatia find out that we have this kind of call, and which is also open for Croatian schools, the local government, they provided the direct support for the school to prepare a proposal to submit for SHORE. A part of attracting the schools, we also had a nice pool of evaluators, because obviously the evaluation phase is always challenging for internally for us, as we know that we have a limited time to evaluate a lot of proposals in a very short period. So we already had a pool of evaluators established for first, second, and the third open call, to advance the evaluation, but also to ensure that we have trained evaluators on time, so they know what to evaluate in the right way, and also to provide us let's say, the high quality review during the evaluation period. And last but not least, I think what is also important in the open call is the transparency. So not only inform the schools about each phase of their application, for example, after the submission of the proposal, but also after the eligibility check, and also after the evaluation phase. So at every step, we were transparent with the outcomes. Even though we had a lot of applications, we managed to, let's say, stay in contact with each applicant and provide them the information, as well as we have introduced the redress mechanism, which also I think provided some transparent phase or transparency in the whole evaluation process to ensure the fairness, but also accountability in the funding, in our funding decision. So after 3 open calls, I think also when we speak about the open call program or the offer, it's always easy to attract, let's say, entities or schools with the money, as we provided a quite, let's say, high budget for Blue School project, which was up to 10,000. And most of the schools which apply, they actually applied for the maximum budget, but also we had some schools which applied, for example, for 1,000 euro or 5,000 euros, so they could also vary or adjust the budget to their needs. We offered dedicated mentorship and the guidance. We offered also the promotion of the projects on the Shore community platform, but also at the end of each project, we had a competition for the Ocean Ambassador of the Year. So during the, let's say, the winning school could also take part in the competition to give them at the end the award for the most voted projects among the whole community. And actually, as you can see on those visuals as well, some numbers which are, let's say, justifying our actions from the first open call and also from the second open call. So there was many different schools involved, around 30 in each, but also around 40 schools in the third open call. And they have conducted a lot of different activities. They involved, for example, in the open call one, the 600 teachers were involved, whereas in the second open call, this number already doubled. The amount of the children jumping from 9,000 onto more around 30,000 children involved in the activities in the project. So I think it also shows the impact of this funding, but also of this initiative, which helps the school to be involved in the activities about the ocean literacy, but also to connect it well with the network of European Blue Schools. So we have funded around 95 schools. They were either the primary schools or the high schools or the middle schools or secondary schools. So when we analyze the results from the first and the second open call, which give us, let's say, around 60 funded projects, we had a really useful lessons learned from the projects implemented, but also we could see, let's say, clearly what was the division between the schools' activities. When we speak about the primary schools and the, let's say, the early education, those projects were focused on, let's say, on connection and also on the sensory engagement, and they wanted to engage the children or the students in the storytelling, in gamification, but also connect their life with the, let's say, ocean, the river, or the basin where they are located close to. But when we analyze the middle and high schools projects, you could really see how let's say the focus shifted towards, let's say, more advanced activities, towards more analysis, towards the more work in the laboratory, but also towards the citizen science. And also what was nice to see as well here, that the students from the higher classes, they also were able to engage with the local policymakers, local NGOs, to not only to improve the infrastructure, but also have a little more influence on their surroundings and also on the policy regarding the, let's say, maybe the local ocean literacy. And when we also analyzed the projects and we spoke with the let's say the project managers, we have noticed that although the projects were located in a very different locations, they had a lot of different topics, but they shared the common challenges. And actually it was really, let's say, we could notice that they also applied a very agile solutions. So when it comes to the explaining the very complex concepts for the students, they, for example, put emphasis on the gamification, and they use the role play or they use the games to explain the concepts for students. Also, each project needed to be adapted to the local needs and also local surrounding, the local basin, but also to the capacities of the schools. So it was truly visible or truly noticeable that the schools and the students and the teachers, they were really could adapt not only to the project, but the project and the activities to their needs. Also, second pillar, which was clearly visible, was the inclusion and engagement. So we had a really notice the different roles of the students, of the teachers, but also engagement of the local stakeholders. So really the schools and the students, they made the step to connect, let's say, all the dots, I would say, not only to implement what they need to implement because they wanted to, what they wrote in the proposal, but also it was seen that there was an engagement of the local stakeholders, of the local NGOs, for example, of the municipalities, but also the local fishers, which were, let's say, a nice connecting point with the for example, the river or the sea. The children acted as an ambassadors to also, to share or to, let's say, implement those habits in their homes. So they could also, not only learn in school, not only, let's say, take part in those workshops, activities which were envisaged in the project, but also they could, make the step to engage their parents and grandparents in the activities related to the ocean literacy. And at the end, was the primary goal, actually, to increase the network of the blue schools. So we wanted to see this transformation. I think all of us, not only the shore, but also ProBleu and BlueLightS, as we have really achieved a nice transformation that most of the schools which were implementing the blue schools, they immediately became the blue schools. So they got the status to be a part of the NESP. And actually, to make this step further, to work on the ocean literacy, to implement the ocean literacy in the curricula, which helped them, to make it that we can say maybe that the shore was the enable for them. So they finished the grant, they implement the activities, they gain the status, but still there is a room for scaling up their activities across their education systems as well. And almost coming to the end, some recommendations which are gathered from the implemented projects, from the part of the projects, which might be maybe helpful also for the future blue projects, not only for the sister, but probably more calls may happen for the schools for the blue projects. So those recommendations might be also useful to take them into consideration while preparing the proposals. First of all, what was important and was clearly visible, don't do it alone. So the partnering with the local university, with the local stakeholder, diver or fisherman, these experts, they bring the living knowledge, right? We know that this is, something which is beyond the textbook, which is actually in place, which can be seen like in the natural environment. So this knowledge shared with others is always, let's say, an added value for the blue project. Also making it very, very local. So starting with your local river, with your local basin, you don't need to go far, and you don't need to go, to tackle the climate change as as a, let's say, a slogan, or you don't need to start with the global warming, but the small change, the small connecting point or the starting point, which is nearby you, near the school, is the best way to start with. Also, what was allowed in the short project is the hierarchy. So flip the hierarchy. So the most successful projects were those which we have seen that where the teachers, they stepped back and they gave the floor for the students. So the students were actually, they were agents of the change. So they could design the survey, they could choose the logo, they could debate, they could invent the solution. So the floor is for them. And it's also a crucial point to give them the floor so they can act freely and actually have this decision power. Also, in majority of our projects, we could see that some very, let's say, interesting approaches were also applied. For example, information-filled chocolates, but also ecodrama, something which integrates with arts, where the children or the students can connect the science and art together to provide the solutions, to provide the answers as well. And last but not least, also gamify the responsibility, meaning that, sometimes the simple batches can do a lot. Children may forget the lessons, but they won't forget being the guardian of the coast for a semester. So it's also giving them the credibility, and also again, the space to be responsible for the action, but also wearing this badge of the guardian of the coast for a semester may do a lot to make them remember that ocean literacy and also the rivers connected or the basins are very important. And I would like to also leave you with the resources which came from the shore as a, let's say, outcome of the implementation. So they are on our website. They're available two reports. First, if you want to find out more or read more in detail about the funded schools and their projects, the report on the left, the consolidated review of the best practices from the shore funded project, is the right place to look for 60 brilliant ideas of the funded projects. And also we have another resource, which is the handbook for teachers, which gives some examples about the blue ocean or the blue ocean literacy lessons, how to implement some topics into the classroom, into the curricula. And also we are coming with the final brochure, which will sum up all the activities taken or performed within the open call, but also beyond in the whole short project. And I believe this is all from my side. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Joanna, for sharing with us the experience with Shore Project and the open calls. Before we close our session today, we have a short feedback form that we would kindly ask you to complete, and this will help us understand how we can improve and what other topics we can cover in the future events, and it will take you only a few seconds to complete. Well, thank you so much for joining today's session on OpenCode's implementation for Shore, ProBleu, and BlueLightS projects, and especially a big thank you to our speakers coming from our sister projects. Don't forget to follow all three projects on social media, which you can find on the chat. Thank you.